Noreen and welcome to my kitchen and a new leftover makeover. What you're looking at is several hamburger patties that we're eating out of our freezer, and we're trying to clean out what we currently have in the freezer so we can make room for new fresh foods. It's time. You have to do that. You have to rotate out things that you have.
Where we got those?
Well, we got these from the meat guy, and in many parts of the country you'll have a gentleman who will pull up in your driveway with a freezer in the back, and he'll make you a pitch and say, I've got some leftover and I can give them to you for a good deal.
Really good Angus beef.
You know, and while the burgers were not terrible, I will never buy from them again.
No, I mean, they're super thin. They cook down to nothing, and I almost burned them because they're so thin.
And in all honesty, we had what? We have 18 of these, right? 18 patties.
Yeah.
And these were so thin that we made double burgers for hamburgers on Saturday night. And what I'm going to do with the remaining ones, that we went ahead and cooked all of them off. And that's fine. But what we're going to do tonight is we're going to do grilled hamburger steaks in gravy. And it's going to be a really quick leftover makeover. I've got some mashed potatoes going on the stove. And we're just going to add a few extra things to this to make it super delicious. We're going to simmer these until they're warm. And then we're going to serve them up like a Salisbury steak. Only you didn't have to do all the hard work because your husband did most of it over the weekend. And you just stored these in the fridge or in the freezer until it was time. You can also throw this together quickly and do it in the crock pot. It'll take about 3 hours to cook and you'll be ready to eat. So I have about 9 hamburger patties here. I have a half of a large Vidaia onion that I have just quartered and sliced. I have 8 ounces of cremini mushrooms that are sliced. I'm going to use 2 cups of mushroom broth and 2 cups of beef stock. I'm going to use some Wonder Flour to thicken it. And in here I have a teaspoon of onion powder and garlic powder and a tablespoon of salt-free seasoning such as Mrs. Dash. We're going to use that to season up our gravy. And I have about a tablespoon of Kitchen Bouquet, which is just a gravy enhancer. That is completely optional. I grew up using it and I like it in my gravy. So we're going to meet you back over at the stove where we will go ahead and start composing our gravy to make our grilled hamburger steak in gravy dinner. What I'm going to do is I'm just going to slide my onion. I have about a tablespoon of vegetable oil in here. Use olive oil. Use whatever oil you like. Coconut oil, olive oil, sunflower oil, safflower oil, whatever. It doesn't matter. And we're just going to saute these. I have it over medium-high heat right now. We're just going to sweat these onions for just a minute and then break them up. These are going to add great flavor to your gravy. And you don't need a whole lot. Like I had a half of an onion in the fridge, needed to get used up, so we're tossing it in. I'm going to go ahead and throw in my mushrooms. At this point, I'm going to add my seasonings. Give it a good stir. You'll always want to remember to heat up your spices before you put the liquid in them because that's going to bring out all their essential oils, and cooking it in that little bit of oil that you have in there with the veggies is really going to make all the difference in how much flavor comes out of your dried spices. I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to give this a few turns of cracked black pepper. About a half a teaspoon. I'm also going to put a little salt in here. Not a whole lot because we're putting some beef broth or beef stock in there. And then I'm also... No, that's where I'm going to end. What I'm going to do now is I'm going to put the lid on this. I'm going to let the mushrooms and the onions sweat for just a few minutes, like 5 minutes. Oh, this is already smelling amazing. So that those mushrooms release some of their water. And when these are ready and we're ready to move on, I'll be right back. A little bit better? All right, well, veggies have softened and I'm going to steam it up again because I'm going to add 2 cups of mushroom stock in here, and then I'm going to add 2 cups of beef stock. And this is just beef stock and mushroom stock. I bought both in the soup aisle of my grocery store. I didn't make these. You can use your own, but you know, we're talking about a fast weeknight meal that uses leftovers to make a brand new dish. Because anybody who's known me for any amount of time knows I really can't stand I can't stand leftovers the same way they were the first time. So that's just my little disorder. I know I'm a freak, but that's okay. What I'm going to do now is I'm going to use some Wonder flour, and I'm going to sprinkle it in here. Wonder is your absolute friend in the kitchen, folks. You can put Wonder into warm liquids. It is a granulated flour that will not clump. It will make a very smooth gravy. You can actually pour this into simmering water, and it will make a lovely silky gravy. Now, I put about 1.5 tablespoons in there for now. We're going to allow this to thicken up a bit. I have it over medium-high heat still. I think I am going to add just a little bit more. The beauty part is, if I make it a little too thick, I can just always add a little extra stock. No biggie. We're going to bring this up to a simmer, and we're going to allow it to thicken, and then we'll be back when that happens. Alright, our gravy has thickened up, and actually it thickened up a little too much because I went a little crazy with the Wondra. Off camera, it wasn't thickening up the way I wanted it to, so I added more. I probably added a total of 3.5 tablespoons of the Wondra into this, and I let it thicken, and now it's just ever so slightly too thick, so I added a couple of tablespoons more of the beef stock. So now it's perfect. You'll know when your gravy is thick. I mean, you all know how thick you want your own gravy. I'm not going to tell you how to do that, but you run it through the back of a spoon, and that's probably not the best example, but it doesn't run back together. That's called the proper nappe, if you were a French cook or something like that. So then we go ahead and we're going to get our hamburger patties, and we're going to stick them in here, and we're just going to nestle them right down into the gravy, and we're going to probably simmer these, I don't know, 5 to 7 minutes or however long you think that you need to make these come up to temperature. And then we're going to mash some potatoes, we're going to make a veggie, and then we're going to have supper. When these are all ready to serve up, we'll come back and we'll fix your plate, because I know you're hungry. There you have it. Grilled hamburger steaks and gravy with mushrooms and onions, homemade mashed potatoes, and a little bit of side of corn. That's what's for dinner tonight. This is a fabulous leftover makeover. If you think ahead, give your husband all the hamburger patties and tell him to char grill them. Let them cool down, stick them in a bag in your fridge or freezer, and the next time that you don't know what to make for dinner, you can pull these out with a little bit of beef stock, a little bit of mushroom, onion, or whatever veggies you happen to have on hand. If you want to put in shredded carrots or shredded zucchini even to give this an extra veggie punch, that would be great as well. You could serve this with rice, noodles, mashed potatoes, whatever you have time for or whatever's on your pantry shelf. It's going to be delicious and your family's going to love it. I hope that you give this a try sometime, and I hope that you love it, and I thank you so much for just coming by and joining me in my kitchen today. I always love it when you pay me a visit. I hope that you really enjoy a leftover makeover like this someday, and until next time, I'll see ya.